What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Jump Off. I am your host, KODX Factor, and we are here back, a part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network, and all the guests that appear on this show and future shows are part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network as well. Welcome back, everybody. It's we took about a week off. Actually, no, we didn't even take a week off. We actually had an episode last week. So I want to thank you guys for coming back. I want to thank everybody for their feedback and everything from the last couple shows. I am actually feeling and sounding a lot better this week because the cold that I had is kind of moved out of my system now. So I'm actually really, really thankful for that. So I'm actually starting to get my voice back now, as opposed to what it sounded like a few weeks ago. And I didn't have a show a couple weeks ago. I had one last week where I kind of discussed and went over some of the things that I wanted to do as far as E3, changes that I would personally make. I was looking for a lot of your guys' feedback. Got a few, didn't get a whole lot, but I did get a few. A lot of people agreed with some of the changes that need to be made. Others did not. You know, for some people that love the idea of being able to go to E3. I'm all for that. I mean, if you guys enjoyed going to E3, I greatly appreciate you guys going. But you know my opinions on it. But like I said, we're not going to really touch a whole lot of E3 here today because, one, I want to wait till it gets a little bit closer to the show. And then we can kind of go into all the leaks, the spoilers, the game releases, the game announcements, stuff like that. We could kind of talk about a week or two leading up to the actual event itself. So I kind of want to hold all that in. That's mainly what I'm doing, holding all that information in as long as I possibly can to at least kind of discuss it for our big E3 show that we're going to have coming up here in June. But one thing that I will talk about this week that I really can't escape because the leaks and all the problems that surround E3 leaks, and honestly, like just game leaks in general have been a problem. And I kind of want to know what your feelings are on that. And one of the things that happened that forced a game to get announced was Rage 2. Now, we talked about it on this show last week when the Walmart ad came out and all the cover arts, well, not even the cover, the authentic cover art, the kind of, you know, generic made up one with just the name on it, was sent out by Walmart Canada, and it kind of forced Bethesda's hand. And what I mean by that, it kind of forced them to go ahead and announce the game ahead of when they were scheduled to want to do it. Now I understand this type of stuff happens way, way too often, especially in this industry. Lord knows it happens with like TV shows and stuff like that. I mean, how many times do you go on the internet? And again, we thank social media for a lot of this, YouTube and a different avenues, especially the platforms that we use, for making this much more of a bigger problem now than it used to be. Game leaks. I mean, look, before it used to be, and GameStop was a big problem with this, and I used to work with the company many years ago, so I kind of know how stuff like that used to get leaked, because publishers have to be, and some of you guys may not know this, you guys may be looking at these game leaks and say, okay, you know what, this is just another game that was hacked out or somebody had seen online, or somebody who works at the studio kind of sent out private information about a game. A lot of times it is actually the retailer's fault for doing this. And I used to work retail, so I know. Game publishers have to have an open dialogue and an open communication between themselves and retailers. Retailers such as Amazon, retailers such as GameStop, Walmart, Best Buy, places like that, just because of the fact that they want to try to get as many orders and as many pre-orders about a particular game as quickly as they can, as much as they can prior to the game's release. And here's why. Because publishers, quite honestly, pay close attention to pre-order numbers. Why? Because that gives them a kind of idea of how the game is going to perform by launch day. That's the reason why they do it. That's why so many retailers go out there and they pressure you. GameStop is notorious for this. And they pressure you into pre-ordering. It's always like every time you go in there, it's do you want to pre-order a game today or any game coming out in the future that has your interest that you want to pre-order today? That's the reason why, because the publishers will put pressure on the retailers to do so that way they have an idea of how the game is going to do. And based on what retailer does the best is the one that particular publisher with that particular title is going to get behind. That's the reason why that pressure is so great and look, I know I've worked at the retail environment. I shop there at the retail environment. And it is a pain to have to go into, I use GameStop as an example because they're notorious for it. Go in and ask at least 3 times before the end of your visit about a game coming out that you can pre-order. And all the pre-order options that they give you when you do pre-order that title. Everybody has different pre-order gifts that you get. Some differentiate between retailers, some don't. But a retailer is always going to try to grab your pre-order for the title because they want the full backing of that publisher for that particular title. And possibly any future titles coming from that publisher in the future. Amazon is a different beast in this regard, just because they have such a high market value when it comes to the video games, because more and more people are now starting to gradually go the Amazon route because, one, they give you same release day delivery. You get a perk for just being a Prime member. You get a discount on the new games that come out. There's many perks to having it done through Amazon. Honestly, I buy a lot of physical games. I don't do a whole lot with the digital space. I do, but I don't. And anytime I do a physical game release, I always get it through Amazon because, one, I save money because I'm a Prime member. So I save 20% off top for just pre-ordering through them. And this is not being an advocate for Amazon in any aspect. I'm just kind of explaining to you how the pre-order system works with these retailers. And that's why we get so many leaks. It used to be that way. We got so many leaks, and it still is today, because it just happened with Walmart last week, that they get the heads up on game releases so they can go ahead and start getting themselves prepared to take pre-orders on these games. Because if there's one time that pre-orders are a heavy commodity, it is the month of June and the week of E3. Why? Because the minute that a lot of these games get announced, people go in and put their pre-orders in for these titles, so that way they're locking themselves in because they've seen it announced, they're ready to get it. It's a game they've have been anticipating. A lot of times, especially during week of E3, there are solid release dates now. So they know when a game's coming out. More people are prone to pre-order a game when they have a solid release date behind it. They know exactly when to expect it. That's why a lot of pre-orders tend to happen around that particular time. Not to mention if it's a game that's a big AAA game that people have been anticipating for quite some time, they will pre-order straight from the jump. Games like Splinter Cell, Gears of War, Halo, games like that, people will jump to pre-order immediately. Some people, like myself, will wait until there's collector's editions announced, and then we pop in our orders then. Sometimes at E3, they will announce the collector's editions as well. So they try to get all these SKUs together and lined up and prepared for this particular week. That's why leaks are so heavy, especially around the time of E3. Because there's too many retailers that all got their hands in the pot. Too many retailers have got the inside information already. And the only way to really fix this problem is publishers are going to have to start holding back information about what titles they plan on announcing until the show. Now, I know that may put some publishers at odds, or not some publishers, but retailers at odds. But retailers got to understand something. The element of surprise is a big deal. The element of surprise is a really exciting time for gamers, such as myself, such as yourself. Nothing is more exciting than watching a presentation and a game announcement pops up that you had no idea about. Rage 2, an example that I'm using, probably would have been just that. None of us expected Rage 2. I would love to know who is listening to this show right now that said, you know what, I bet they're working on Rage 2 and they're going to announce that this year. I would love to count. I bet you I can count on one hand how many of y'all might have predicted that. None of us were expecting Rage 2. Nobody. Because me personally, I didn't think the first one did all that well to get a second one or to warrant a second one. But here we are. The leak from Walmart last week, forced Bethesda's hand into releasing the game or announcing the game ahead of when they were wanting to do it. And quite honestly, and I'm gonna talk about Rage 2 here in just a few minutes, and my thoughts, opinions on the trailer that we've seen, the cinematic trailer that we've seen, and then we saw a gameplay trailer today. I've got some thoughts and opinions on Rage 2, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But I wanted to kind of focus my arguments here on the leaked games and why, and any ways that we can work on trying to fix this. Because me personally, as a gamer, I love the element of surprise at the show of E3. That's what I watch the show for. I hate watching a presentation and I know the games that I'm going to see in advance. It kind of takes away from the excitement and joy of watching the thing. Because it's like, why am I going to watch it now and hear somebody speak when I already know what they're going to be talking about or showing? Publishers, if you're hearing me, hold back. I know sometimes it can be hard, especially when you're starting to put together marketing material and ways to market this game, because your retailers are going to be a big part in that. But you got to trust that the game you're working on, that you want to be a huge surprise, the announcement itself at the presentation is going to be marketing material enough that it can withstand at least a week before getting the material out there. Trust me, retailers can wait 1 week before getting those pre-orders started. Especially if it's a big AAA game. Even make an announcement about it at your actual show. Pre-orders will start the week of E3. Because retailers watch the show as well. They're there at the show. How quickly do you think that after a big game announcement happens on stage, that they can get their online team quickly to start pumping out SKUs for a title? They don't need that much advance notice to do that. A generic game box image, especially the ones that I've seen, are not that complicated to produce. That's a 5-minute Photoshop job. And the SKU, I'm sure it could be an auto-generated SKU. Your systems are probably well set up for that. And then to start taking pre-orders could take no more than a couple days, maybe even 24 hours. So that shouldn't even be what could be considered a problem. That's the way I would work around it. Don't let the retailers get a whiff of what you're working on until you're ready to showcase it off. Even if you plan on showing the game off early. And I know there are publishers that do this. Will show a game early before they really want to. That's why we see so many game announcements in the month of May or early June prior to E3, because they're fearful of the game getting leaked before the actual showcase. That shouldn't be the case. Now look, I know us gamers are extremely enthusiastic and really want to know what's coming down the pipeline before you're ready to show. Trust me, I know, because there's games I wish I knew in advance notice prior to you guys announcing it myself. But hold back. Showcase it off at the show, at one of the shows that we get once a year, whether that's PAX, whether that's E3, any of those showcases you could do this. There's a number of shows that publishers go to every year that give them ample opportunity to do this. Not just at a random time like Bethesda did with Rage 2. And we all know, even though they may deny it, we all know that the reason why they announced this game today or yesterday was because of the Walmart leak from last week. That's the only reason why. Otherwise, they would have never have showcased that game off. That's what I see. And anything that we can possibly do to try to fix these game leaks, keep retailers' dirty hands off of it until it's time to show it. Especially when you send marketing material for a game early in marketing kits that retailers' employees get a hold of before the announcement. Trust me, again, I worked retail. I know. We would get marketing kits, and there'd be a little disclaimer in the note that came inside the box. Do not put this up until this date. Why? Because it's a game that has not been announced to the general public yet, and they do not want the marketing material for that game up yet. But what do you think a regular 9-to-5 employee is going to do when he comes in for his shift? It's like, oh, look, new Call of Duty coming. We all know that they're working on one, but here's the actual images of it, the release date, and everything. And I have it a week before the world knows about it. What do you think that employee does? Pulls out his smartphone, snaps a couple of really good shots of the image, uploads them to the internet, social media, forums, whatever the case may be, and boom, you got a leak. Why? Because you send this to a retail store and a company that has thousands of stores across the nation. What do you think is going to happen? I remember this was a problem back when I worked retail, when Call of Duty, I think it was Modern Warfare 3, was actually getting ready to be announced. Hasn't been announced to the public yet. But I get a big marketing kit in, I'm getting ready to set up marketing for the week, and what do I find? A big package inside that says Call of Duty MW3 marketing material. Please do not display until, I can't remember the date that was actually even on the envelope. But what did we do? Like, in my particular store, none of us touched the marketing material. We left it alone. We were actually not ones that went out there and took pictures of it. One, because we all kind of had a feeling that it was coming anyway. But then less than 24 hours later, there are posts on Reddit of GameStop employees have already leaked this image out online. It happens. It happens, folks, especially for kids that are looking for hits, likes, anything like that on these social media platforms by leaking this information. Pull back, publishers. Just pull back just a little bit. Don't be so quick to let your retail partners know what's coming down the line. Trust me, I mean, you can talk to the presidents of those companies and make them put stipulations to please not get this stuff ready to start taking pre-orders for until a particular time frame. I know there's stuff that GameStop, Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon know what's coming this fall that they haven't probably already revealed yet or started making SKUs for yet. But you know one of those retailers is going to slip up. Amazon has done it before. Amazon slipped up with Splinter Cell before Walmart did. It's going to happen. And the only way to prevent this from happening is to pull back on your SKUs, or at least pull back on your revealing to the retailers before you're ready to showcase it off to the world. And that brings me to Rage 2. How many of y'all have seen the Rage 2 debut trailers? You had the cinematic one that they revealed yesterday, and then the gameplay trailer that they revealed today. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Please, if you have the opportunity, please send me a DM. Comment to us on Facebook. Comment on the YouTube video. What are your thoughts and opinions on Rage 2, what we saw so far? I'll tell you what I've seen so far. It looked like they were going for Borderlands, just not so cel-shaded. What do I mean by that? It's the same type of game, massive weaponry, open world, vehicle combat, post-apocalyptic world. Not to mention some of the enemies even kind of look very similar to enemies that you find in the Borderlands series. Now look, I already expect that we're going to see Borderlands 3 at E3 at some point. But this looked, even the cinematic live action trailer that they showed first looked very, very Borderlandish. Crazy enemies, crazy people with guns, the hilarious interaction, things that you could do within the world is very, very Borderlandish. And we talked about this a number of weeks ago when we were talking about studios biting off original ideas. There's nothing to me more poignant in that regard than Rage 2 is to Borderlands. And I thought the same thing with the original Rage. I was like, oh, this is kind of like just a more realistic feel Borderlands than it is with the cel-shaded aspect of what Borderlands delivered. Now look, it looks good, and I'm sure it's going to play. And I'm sure it's going to play very well. I just can't get over the fact that this looks almost, I won't say identical, but it looks way too close to a Borderlands game. And me personally, I would much rather play. And I'm sure they're going to show some sort of a trailer at E3 for Borderlands 3. And at this point, Rage 2 kind of almost forces the hand of Gearbox to do so. We've all been waiting for Borderlands 3 for so long. Do you really want Rage 2 to come in and try to fill that void? Especially to some gamers? That could possibly happen. And based on the gameplay trailer that we saw today for Rage 2, we got an idea of when this game is expected to hit. Spring of 2019. That's kind of when I expected Borderlands 3 to come out. So could it possibly be that we're going to see these two games butt heads against each other in the spring? I can see that happening. But again, I've already been so committed to the world of Borderlands already that I would probably steer more towards Borderlands. Now, am I going to play both of them? Yes, just because of of the work that we do here, the work that we do on these podcasts, the Let's Play videos and stuff like that, we're gonna end up playing both of them anyhow. But I'm talking from the sense of just a general consumer. If I was a general consumer and I had Borderlands 3 in the right hand, Rage 2 in the left hand, which one would I be leaning more towards? I've already played 2 Borderlands games. I really, really want to play a third. I played 1 Rage game already, and wasn't the fondest memory I had. It was an okay game. It was good for what it delivered. Did I think it probably warranted a sequel? Not so much. But they're really, really going out there now as far as attitude of the game. To me, it really, really felt like Borderlands. And I could not get myself around that fact. No matter what trailer I watched, whether it's the live action one or the gameplay one, I was like, man, this was really, really trying to ring the bells of what Brandy Pitchford and Gearbox do with the Borderlands series. I don't know, but that's my thoughts, on the game itself. Like I said, we're gonna give them obviously both a play. Just because we like to have content on as many games as we possibly can. And Bethesda has been so nice to us in the past that, we'll definitely give Rage 2 a play. And we'll be there to cover it. We'll be there to do everything that we possibly can for it. We're going to review both titles, obviously, as we tend to do with most games. So it's not one of those games that's like, to me, if they revealed it at the show, it would have been a little bit of a surprise, but it wouldn't have been one of those that I'm just like, yay, type of deals. You know what I mean? That's my thoughts on it. But anyway, that's going to do it for our show this week. I thank you guys for listening. Wanted to do a couple of thought topics this week. One of them being the leaks, another one being Rage 2 that we just saw yesterday and today. I am your host, KODX Factor. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Please check us out on all of our platforms, our social media platforms. We are on Facebook at The Game Night Lounge. We are on YouTube at The Game Night Lounge. Our Twitter handle is at Game Night Lounge. Or you can follow me on Twitter. My personal handle is at KODX Factor. You can follow us on our website at www.gaynightlounge.wordpress.com. And you can find this podcast as well as our other podcast, the GSN Gaming Sports News Podcast, on iTunes, Google Play. We're on Podbean. We're on a bunch of different podcast forums, so please make sure you check us out. And let us know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the topics that we covered here today. And everything going and leading up to E3. So again, I want to thank you guys for listening. I am KODX Factor. This is The Jump Off, and we are part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network. And all the guests that appear on this show and future shows are part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network as well. And until next time, I am KODX Factor, and game on, everybody.